February 1258. A man walks through his own treasury. Guards walk beside him, but they're not his guards. He looks at gold he spent half a century protecting. Gold that purchased silks. Gold that paid scholars. Gold that filled vaults while his soldiers lacked armor. The men beside him study his face. They are waiting to see if understanding has reached him yet. He says nothing. Behind him, his city burns. Ahead of him waits something worse than fire. This is Caliph al-Musta'sim, ruler of Baghdad, commander of the faithful, spiritual successor to Muhammad himself. In 3 hours, it will be dead. Not by sword, not by arrow, not by any execution you expect. Because the men who destroyed his city obey rules you have never been taught. And what they did to his family was not merely killing. It was design. A structure built in blood so that every ruler from Damascus to Delhi would understand exactly what defiance costs. They never needed to repeat it. They only needed to do it once. For 5 centuries, Baghdad was not merely a capital, it was on axis, not just of empire but of thought. This was the city where Greek philosophy met Persian astronomy, where Indian mathematics fused with Islamic law, where the world's knowledge concentrated into libraries cataloging everything from medicine to mechanics. The House of Wisdom alone contained texts that would take 3 lifetimes to read. Al-Khwarizmi developed algebra here. Al-Razi wrote medical encyclopedias Europe would not translate for 400 years. Scholars traveled from Spain to Samarkand just to study in Baghdad's academies. Its population exceeded 1 million. Its underground canals carried water across the city. Its markets traded goods from China to Cordoba. Its hospitals treated patients regardless of wealth or faith. This was not Rome in decline. This was civilization at its operational peak. And ruling over it all stood the Caliph. Not merely a king, not merely a political authority. The Caliph was the successor of Muhammad's spiritual authority over military. Stretching back 37 generations, al-Musta'sim inherited that title in 1242. He also inherited decay. The Abbasid Caliphate still spoke with religious authority, but his armies were mostly mercenaries. Its governors were semi-independent warlords. Its treasury was full but rarely spent on defense. Baghdad had survived weakness before. Civil wars, rival caliphs, empires rising and collapsing around it while scholars kept writing and markets kept trading. So, when reports arrived of horsemen in the East Horsemen who erased the Khwarezmian Empire, depopulated Persian cities, ignored rivers, mountains, and negotiated borders, Baghdad acknowledged them and did nothing. The Mongols were not an army. They were a system. 50 years of continuous warfare had refined them across frozen steppe, desert, and mountain. When Genghis Khan died in 1227, he left behind something unprecedented. Not just conquered land, but a repeatable doctrine of war. One of his grandsons, Hulagu Khan, was ordered west. In 1253, the Mongol Kurultai gave Hulagu a single mission: secure submission from every state between Mongolia and the Mediterranean, not conquest. Submission. The Mongol Empire was not built on occupation, it was built on compliance. Cities that submitted early kept their rulers, autonomy, and daily life. They paid tribute, they acknowledged Mongol supremacy. Cities that resisted ceased to exist. Every target received the same sequence. Messengers arrived with written terms. Submit immediately. Send tribute. Provide hostages, usually sons of rulers. Accept Mongol authority. Compliance meant survival. Walls remained. Markets stayed open. People lived. Refusal brought no immediate threat. No ultimatum. Only silence. Weeks passed. Sometimes months. Life continued. Defenders convinced themselves the Mongols had moved on. Then the horizon filled with horsemen, not chaos. Formation siege engines arrived on wagons. The army surrounded the city completely. Every road, every gate, every escape route Construction began in full view of the defenders. Trebuchets capable of hurling 300-pound stones assembled by Chinese and Persian engineers. The machines were built slowly so they could be watched. Then a second embassy arrived. The terms repeated word for word. Final chance. Most cities surrendered here. If they did not, the siege followed not as chaos, but as procedure. Walls fell. Infantry entered in units. Cavalry secured routes. The city fell, section by section. Inside, the population was divided. Artisans spared. Scholars spared. Engineers spared. Everyone else gathered outside the city. What followed was not random violence. It was systematic. Elimination. Survivors were resettled across Mongol territory. Cities were burned not as punishment, but as evidence. Each ruined city became instruction for the next. By 1257, Hulagu had applied this system across Persia. Nishapur refused to eradicate it. Merv refused to populate it. Herat refused reduced to ruins. Refusal echoed across generations. Then Hulagu turned toward Baghdad. September 1257. 3 Mongol envoys rode into the city carrying a single letter. You know what befell Persia? You know the cost of refusal? Present yourself. Dismantle your walls. Send your sons as submit and endure. Your city will live. Refuse and you will learn what others learned. The letter arrived on Thursday. By Friday, debate began. Al-Musta'sim summoned his advisors. The room divided instantly. His vizier, Ivan al-Alkomi, urged submission. He listed the evidence. The Khwarezmians had fielded hundreds of thousands. Fortified cities, mountain strongholds. All gone. These are not raiders, he said. This is a system refined through 50 years of war. We cannot defeat them. We can only survive them. He advised immediate surrender. The army commander disagreed. The Mongols were steppe cavalry. Baghdad's walls had never fallen. They lacked siege experience, he argued. They were far from supply lines. A third faction invoked faith. Baghdad was the heart of Islam. God would not allow pagans to destroy the Caliphate. Al-Musta'sim listened. He was 54 years old, 16 years into his reign. Unaccustomed to war, comfortable with luxury, trusting the authority of his position. He dismissed the envoys. No tribute. No preparation. If they come, he said, let them come. They did. What followed was not just conquest, it was demonstration. And when it ended, every throne from Anatolia to India understood the lesson.